Hello. Welcome to the sixth segment of the Rigel Show, aka Rigel's mystical driftwood fort on the sandy beach of the cosmic navel, where song runs through all of reality. We are coming to you live from my Earth Dome here in Austin, Texas. Earth Dome that I just dug a hole in my backyard, filled up earth bags, normally earth bags that you would like use to stop water from coming into your house or building a military bunker in a pinch. Use those bags to build this little structure I'm sitting in right now. This is a virtual and non-virtual space. It's a playful space, a Theotokian riparian zone that seeks to integrate traditional values, modern values, progressive postmodern values, and that which is emerging on the horizon of the evolution of culture and consciousness, postmodern values. Okay? I'm seeing Sherry is already here. Good morning, Sherry. Nice to see you. We are in the narthex, where the aromas of the secular and the incense of the sacred interpenetrate one another. Okay? Some people call it a perichoretic dance between the express self and the sacrifice self, the directional and the cyclical, the transcendent and the immanent, truth and participation. But other people, like Sherry, okay, Sherry, you're there. Other people like Sherry call it picking lint out of the cosmic navel. And I feel like all of those are welcome here, okay? We're here just to like listen and receive and participate. Okay. Hello, evolving soul. Hello, Cateo. Is that how you say that? I don't know if that's how you say that. Catio. That's how they'd say it in Texas. Catio. Welcome. I'm going to just drop the link here into the chat so that if anyone wants to join in, you can kind of be part of this little scene. Here, let's go ahead and drop that right there in the chat. And then on my phone, I can pin that to the tippy top. I'm going to do a quick sound check, just real quick, make sure that the piano is working. So we have piano coming. Yep. Okay. Just need to confirm the piano. Oh, I'll call you Tim. That sounds good, Cateo. All right, so we have a link in there. Y'all are welcome to join in. While you're deciding if you want and when you want to join in, I am going to enter the cosmic navel through some exploratory improvisational piano. It's going to be a little bit different this time. The last few times, I just gone in with my eyes closed and just see what pops out. This time, I kind of came up with a melody earlier this week, and I want to just play around with a little bit, see. Hey, Sherry, let's bring you
Hello.
in here.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Good
You, you
morning.
could have, you could have done your meditation. I always like it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna do my
Oh, good.
this is it's gonna be pretty meditative, what I'm gonna do. I mean, I don't know, we'll see. We're just exploring. We're kind of exploring different options here, Sherry. But it's fun to have you in the room
Yeah.
just because It's just
Nice to have
different.
an audience.
It's
Yeah,
nice to have an audience, you
totally.
know? And you're a good audience too. Not everyone is like with you in the moment. But cheers. Are you drinking
Yes,
anything interesting this
drinking
morning?
the Java. I got up late. I feel like I look a little sleepy. I still am. I did do my running around out there and get my chores done, loaded up my wood stove, and yeah.
Well, you look beautiful to me.
I
So,
had to get rid of the soot off my face.
good. Okay. Well, Sherry, I'm gonna bring my fingers to the stage here, and I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes to just give you a sense of that there will be an end to this exploration, and then we'll come back and just decide what we want to do with our time together.
I'm gonna
Okay?
mute. I'm gonna mute
Good.
in
Mute.
case you do something silly and I.
All right. Here we go. Here's my little timer. Here we, so everyone can see it. Oh, okay. You can kind of see it there. All right. So my eyes are open this time, and the melody I came up with earlier this week is just a very simple melody. It goes. And I am learning this technique of kind of using the melody as a creative thread to pull out harmonies, chords, and just kind of using the melody as the inspiration. And so the second thing that I came up with was kind of like what bass notes could go with this melody. So then it turned into. Which then, if you add chords to it, like. Whoops. So I'm just going to kind of improvise a little bit and see what I'm hoping to accomplish is come up with like a call and response. We have like this is the call, and then come up with some sort of response melody. So we have. Kind of want to just go. right, so I have the call. Do, 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 do. It's my 5-minute timer. This is almost over. Okay. Well, that got a little something out of there. So I jumped up to the A and just did this like back and forth on the D to E flat. All right, I'm done. You can come back, Sherry.
A's and E's and E minors and A minors are so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I used to write these songs because I was really limited in how many chords I could play.
Mm-hmm.
And I break all the rules, you know. And I was working with this guy once who was a producer, and he's like, you can't go there. I'm like, I'm going there. And I still think it sounds good. I don't know. Maybe it's just my weirdness. I just like, it feels like falling off the edge of a cliff in a way,
Yeah.
you know, in a free fall of sorts.
I would have been like, bro, like there is no can't in the cosmic navel. Literally.
The only way I could make him happy was to write a bridge that he wrote.
Uh-huh. That's great. Hey, Richard.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sherry.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Same here. I was playing along with you on my guitar.
Ooh,
Nice.
okay.
Yeah, on my my E string. Actually, it was my D string, but I'm in open D, so I found it there, and it was very sweet. I liked it.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, you were really rolling there. I was enjoying it. Play me that original little melody. Yeah. The first thing I thought of, and that's what I was doing the whole time, I was looking for the poem. There's a poem by a guy named, what's his name now? James Weldon, I think, or maybe it's Langston Hughes. I can't remember. But anyway, I learned it like, I think in grade 8, and I remember scribbling it out by hand, and I have it in my thing there, but all I remember is the one line, walking backwards up the stairs. Are you familiar with it?
Mm-mm.
And that's what, walking backwards up the stairs. That's what I heard when you played
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Good
I mean,
exercise.
yeah.
And it does go that way, right? Like it starts down and goes up.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's that would be what we call prosody, where the lyrics and the melody and the
Oh, yeah. You know,
yeah.
that has, first of all, I love Bruce Cockburn. Do you know Bruce Cockburn?
No.
Okay, well, he's a Canadian folk singer. He's famous for Wondering Where the Lions Are. You must know that song.
Yeah.
And anyway, he's not a great singer, but his poetry is fantastic. Like, and the way that his melodies work with the words, I don't know if I'm just, one of those people who's, I don't know what when they hear music, they see colors or whatever. I don't think so, but I could see the notes dancing with the words when I would listen to him. And I loved him for that. And I could never explain it to anyone. Now you just gave me a word for it. It's called prosody.
Yeah.
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 Great.
Well, what's bubbling up for you two today? Anything to bring to the table? Anything to share? Anything to think about? Anything that is causing dissonance?
I don't do dissonance, Rigel.
Oh, girl, I freaking do dissonance.
Do
I mean,
you?
that's what, yeah.
Okay,
All
so
dissonance,
give me the
yeah.
pros. I mean, I'm thinking of propositional dissonance, but yeah, melodic dissonance is okay.
Well,
Definitely.
where does the one end and the other begin, Sherry?
Well, for me, dissonance has it has a negative connotation in the sense that it's it would be irritating. So there has to be a harmony, an underlying harmony there, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that you don't want to stay in dissonance forever. I mean,
No.
that doesn't feel great, but if everything is just like major triads, which there's like no dissonance, if you're just like, right? There's no, it just feels like, what does that feel like? It's like predictable.
Feels like Sesame Street.
Yeah, it feels a little bit Sesame Street. It's maybe like developmentally appropriate for certain ears. But there's also, if you can add just like, I don't know, something in one of those chords that, we have like,
So
so it can be any note that isn't like in the prescribed tonal center for the key.
right, but it's a complementary dissonance. Like when you said the word dissonance, I was thinking about cognitive dissonance, where you can't reconcile to, like a paradox, right? What happens to your brain and when I said I don't do dissonance, it doesn't mean I don't approach those things. It means I don't think that they're unreconcilable. Let's say that. That's what I was thinking when I said that.
Yeah. Richard, do you have any thoughts on dissonance?
It's an interesting place to be. But I listened to Sherry's conversation with Jordan Daniel Wood last night or yesterday. I don't know if you caught that, Rigel.
I caught a little bit, and I want to go back. I think I may have actually. I was like taking a nap, my afternoon nap, and it was just like lovely to fall asleep to. So but I didn't actually go back and listen to it.
Yeah, it was really,
I get it. I do that all the time.
It was really, really good. Yeah, thanks, Sherry.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that conversation when you asked if anything was bubbling up, because we talked about the imagination and the function of the imagination, and the fact that the imagination is primary, according to George MacDonald. I'm not going to make any like hard and fast propositional statements here, but and I just think it's like for you to do what you just did at the beginning here requires imagination. So what are your thoughts on the imagination, Rigel?
I wrote a kid's song about imagination.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sums up my whole thinking on it. I have to pull up the music though, because I'm so bad with lyrics. I got into this habit early on in my musical life and career of just like relying on music. Imagination. There it is. Okay, so bear with me as I remember how to play this. So it goes, imagination, close my eyes to see infinity to the tiniest, tinier world inside of me. Imagination, it's time to set you free. There's a world inside of me. It's a world we're gonna set free. Okay, here we go. I wonder if bowls laugh with spoons. I wonder if sidewalks are smart. I wonder if trains can fly to the moon. Do whales glow in the dark? Imagination, I close my eyes to see infinity to the tiniest, tinier world inside of me. Imagination, it's time to set you free. There's a world inside of me. This a world we're gonna set free. I wonder if trees nibble on bread. I wonder if school buses sleep. I wonder if birds know the alphabet. Do stop signs know how to read? Imagination, I close my eyes to see infinity to the tiniest, tinier world inside of me. Imagination, it's time to set you free. There's a world inside of me. This a world we're gonna set free. I wonder how high I can count. Are my thoughts made out of wings? I wonder if I can move the clouds. Does my heart really know how to sing? Imagination, I close my eyes to see infinity forever, never, always together apart. The Big Bang and quarks, whiz bang and sparks, quicksand and quasars. There's a world inside of me. This a world we're gonna set free. There's a world inside of me. There's a world we're gonna set free. There's a world inside of me. And this whole world I'm gonna set free.
That's exactly what the imagination essay is about.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to
There's
read that.
a world inside of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. I love it. I want to steal it for the intro to that video.
For sure.
Yeah,
You can have it.
I'm
Just
just
excellent. Just really cool.
Really
Oh.
great. Really great
Yeah.
singing.
Yeah.
I love it
Great.
that I asked you a question about the imagination and you gave me the song. I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
See, we can do that in this space. You can't do that in every space.
Should be.
But you all.
So, it's interesting because I follow a little bit of process theology, philosophy, and Alfred North Whitehead, his sort of hierarchy, creativity is at the top. And after listening to the talk between Jordan and Sherry, I Googled what's the difference between imagination and creativity. And Google AI said imagination is the thought and the idea, and creativity is the
Outworking.
bringing into existence that idea, which is kind of interesting. So now I'm thinking idea is at the top, imagination is at the top.
Well, I realized that when I was reading that essay for the first time, I'm like, man, this is this is why I kept saying incarnation, incarnation all through that whole conversation, because the imagination is like it's out here, right? It's from here to infinity. Like you can imagine anything. You can take, I like to use the example, pigs can fly in your imagination,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And but then you choose from that source, or the source, capital S, and you bring it down into your body, and an idea, and you make it, so you're taking from the infinite and you make it finite. You make the infinite finite through your body.
Through your
Yeah.
body. Oh my God. That relates to the conversation that we had in the Zoom group that Richard came to on, was that last night? No.
Yeah.
No, that was 2 nights ago. That was
Oh, okay.
Wednesday night. Yeah.
Oh,
It
I
all
forgot
blurs
about
together.
it. Shoot.
Yeah, it was. I did an icebreaker, and one of the icebreaker was like, sum up your philosophy in 3 words.
Oh God.
And the 3 words I came up with were play, kenosis, and developmental. And kenosis, one of the women in our group, she made this point about like how limitations foster creativity, and like anyone who's been around art students know that like one of your exercises, many of your exercises are putting yourself into limitations to like force creativity. Whether it's drawing with your eyes closed, or drawing left-handed, or any number of limitations. But this idea of bringing the infinite into finite space, like that's kenosis in a sense. That's this like intentionally submitting myself to limitation.
Yeah. I mean, creativity comes through the finite. Yeah, in that sense.
That's
Jordan had a really great quote from Maximus where he talked about. You have to remind me, Richard. It was water.
flow.
Oh shoot! Now I forgot what it what it represented.
Flow.
Well, just the incarnational aspect of the Spirit of God is, he described it as like water, right? That flows through and stuff like that. So,
Oh yeah, into all different things.
into plants, into
Yeah.
streams, into condensation, into everywhere.
And that's what we are. We're the intersection of the infinite and the finite.
Yeah, we are.
Because it goes all the way down below us and all the way up. And that's what we are.
We're in the middle.
We're in the middle.
In the in-between. I like
Stuck in the middle again.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you bring up process philosophy. I'm just tiptoeing around the edges of that a little bit, but it feels super in sync with my philosophy.
Yeah.
And
I think you'll really enjoy Andrew Davis, that's going to speak with our Zoom group next. Andrew Davis is really, really good.
Yeah. Have you seen any of his other stuff?
Yeah. I've seen a half a dozen of his presentations.
Oh, cool. Yeah. He spoke last year.
Right.
And actually, I remember him. I had this epiphany when he just took the word information and he said, he just broke it down and emphasized the in formation. Information is this, it's that in between of, so the idea of logos as information, it feels very static. But once you break it down into this process of becoming, it I don't know, it feels like relatable to me somehow.
Yeah, I find a lot of what's happening right now in by way of dialogue is a recapturing of words that have become ossified, right? Like information, because most people associate information with data
Yeah,
that comes from a computer. So it's a mechanistic worldview.
right.
And
Which brings all that kind of materialist baggage that has no room for spirit or God.
right, it's not living.
Yeah.
It's not living. It's not alive. It's literally dead.
Sherry, when you were talking about incarnation, were you talking about only the incarnation of Jesus or the incarnation of God into the creation at the beginning?
Blake calls Jesus the imagination. So I would just kind of throw that out there. I think, and scripture talks about the lamb slain before the foundation of the world. So when was the lamb slain? At that point in time, I mean, if we want to think about it on a linear scale, which is not really a good idea, actually, then according to scripture, creation happens at the cross, right? And I like to think about when Jesus said, to the guy, follow me. And he said, well, I got to bury my parents, or whatever. He said, let the dead bury the dead. So they're not yet living, right? But I mean, that's all very
That's very
subterranean. Kind of like the Earth Dome.
Yeah, I think maybe for me, holding that time thing in tension, holding it in a sort of like a in between. In other words, I personally really love the idea of linear history. I think that.
Well, it gives us retrospect. It gives us retrospect.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I see the Creator God creating in time, and that's why I love evolution. It's like developmental. It's like Jordan said, dinosaurs 250 million years ago. Well, since I believe that everything, the whole creation is God's creation, then what's God been doing during this whole creation?
Yeah.
He's been evolving, in evolving the whole creation.
Right.
So, to me, that's it's like, wow, that's beautiful, and I'm part of it.
Yeah.
So what's that mean? It's like, where's it going?
Where's it going?
Well,
that's
I mean, if you look at the whole...
that's the quote from Rilke. He says, "Don't." How does he put that now? I just was talking to a friend the other day, and I quoted this to her. Where is it?
Pseudo-history says there is damnation, reincarnation, salvation, and the food chain.
That's right.
You've got it all.
Yeah, it's all there. Oh, man.
Well, I just mean, I think I know where it's going. It's developmentally getting better and better. It's evolving more complexity, more spirituality, more coordination, more cooperation. This planet is moving toward a time of truth, beauty, and goodness, where we're all cooperating and loving each other.
Mm.
That's what the whole thing looks like to me, which is
Rilke,
inspiring.
Rilke says, I just I have to quote this because you asked the question. Rilke says, why do you want to persecute yourself with the question of where all this is coming from and where it is going? Since you know, after all, that you are in the midst of transition and you wished for nothing so much as to change. That last line, then I wrote to my friend, that last sentence has always struck me. Since you know, after all, that you are in the midst of transition and you wished for nothing so much as to change. I know that I've longed for change in my life, prayed for it. But when it comes, I'm completely unaware of it as the answer to my prayer. I strive against it in fear. I'm finally coming to realize it's the thing I've always wanted. But it's hard work. So, you know, I love that thing from Rilke, because he reminds us that we really want to be better. We're really reaching for the good, but the thing that makes us better is oppositional, right? It doesn't make us better when our parents give us everything we want. We have to have opposition, and we hate the opposition, right? That's the thing we hate. We're like, what do you mean I'm grounded? What do you mean I don't get my allowance? What do you know? But it's the thing that makes us. So he's reminding the guy that he's writing to that this is actually what you always wanted. The place you find yourself in right now, the difficult place, is what you asked for.
Yeah.
I would equate the oppositional with dissonance.
Dissonance.
In the sense that harmonically, when dissonance is, if dissonance is just this static thing, then no thank you.
No.
But if it's part of this process of growth and becoming, where it's actually the dissonance that like slingshots the melody, the harmony into its next resolution,
Right.
which then needs more dissonance at some point to actually get out of that resolution.
I mean, just to be so bold, you could even call it Satan. It's the adversary.
It's the adversary.
Yeah. That's why I don't have any problem with theodicy, like why there's suffering in the world. I think God could have made us perfect like angels, or even higher than angels, but then we wouldn't have the experience of working with the good and the bad, the suffering, and ultimately it all works for good. So, it's hard and there's a lot of suffering, but
I think the worst suffering is watching someone else suffer.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing that people can't bear. They can bear their own suffering usually, as long as it's not overwhelming. But to watch someone else suffer is really that was one of the things Jordan Peterson said that really stood out to me was be careful about taking away someone's suffering. Because, like Rilke says, this is what you wished for, right? You're in the midst of transition, and you wished for nothing so much as to change. You want to change.
We are changing.
Yeah, we're evolving, right, Richard?
Exactly.
Totally.
That's why I'm evolving soul.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Have I shown you all the quote on this teacup? It says, "Stand at the brink of the abyss of despair, and when you see that you cannot bear it anymore, draw back a little and have a cup of tea." Draw back a little, okay? Just a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that it describes it as a brink, like an edge. Um, that's what these thresholds in our lives are like, right? They're always falling off places.
Yeah.
You know what I like about you guys is that I don't know if it's the Eastern Orthodox culture, but you guys like to go deep. You know, I have an evangelical friend, and I hadn't seen him for 20 years, and he was parked in my RV, in my driveway in his RV, and went out there in the morning, and he was reading the Bible, and I said, "Oh, I'm glad to see you're still a Christian." He said, "This is the only book you ever need." And I thought to myself, I actually said to him, "Well, you're really missing a lot, you know." Not that that's not good, but I think maybe it's the little corner culture, but it's really, really beautiful to, you know, to be with people that are looking at the fathers, the saints, evangelicals, Catholics. I love it.
Thank you.
I mentioned to Jordan, Rigel, yesterday that I haven't finished it yet, but there's a great conversation with Michael Levin and Ian McGilchrist.
Okay.
Michael Levin is a scientist. He's doing like really interesting work. And he was talking about this new thing that he's looking into now. You know, like he does this stuff with slime mold, and he sees the slime mold exhibiting some form of consciousness because it's problem solving, it's doing things that they can't predict, you know, all that kind of thing. But it's also moving towards something in the external world. And so now he's looking into the idea of the external thing exerting an attractive power onto the living, you know, the slime mold, right? And it's this reciprocity that you see in nature, and also that, you know, Christians talk about in you know, it's basically the Trinitarian aspect of God, right? It's relationship and how things are in these reciprocal relationships. And one of the things that I used to describe as simultaneous reciprocity, where it's really the end result of a very long process of these things coming towards each other. But I always had the sense that they were coming towards each other at this like hypersonic speed, like so fast, because when they meet, when you get a, you know, whether it's a synchronicity or, you know, a life partner, or Levin talked about it as library angels, where you're thinking about a subject and you walk through a library and a book falls on the floor and it's just the book you needed for that thing you were thinking about, right? Just imagine that is happening all the time. Like it's always coming towards you. It's also like Jeremy was saying, the whale that was made to swallow Jonah was always moving towards Jonah, right? And then this moment of meeting feels like serendipitous or some miraculous thing, but it's actually always they're always coming towards each other, you know. It's really beautiful to think about that.
Yeah. In my little preamble of Rigel rambling his way into the cosmic navel, where else can I do that? I mean, I can do that in my house, and there's only so much my family can take. Yeah. So, yes. So it's like, this is actually a good space for like my marriage and just sanity. But I use this word perichoresis in my preamble, which is, I learned about this word, I don't know, a year or so ago, which is the word that describes the kind of paradoxical unity and distinction of the persons of the Trinity.
Right.
And when you look up the word perichoresis, I mean, I'm using Wikipedia and Google and stuff like that, so there's probably some very spiritual person who knows the things that I could be
That would
asking.
be Jordan Daniel Wood talks about parachoresis all the time.
Yeah.
Actually.
But the word, when you look it up, there's different ways that people describe it. One is circle dance, perichoresis, I think, charisa, some sort of dance, or interpenetrating. And I use that as well, which is a little, it's got some spice to it.
Well, you could think of it in centrifugal too.
Yeah.
Because centrifugal is interpenetrating, right? That's the whole point of putting chemicals or whatever medicinals into a centrifuge, is to completely homogenize? Is that a good word? Them. And Jonathan Pajot talks about the right and left hand of God as the centrifugal and the centripetal forces of God.
Yeah.
So the thing that swirls in and the one that pushes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were talking about reciprocity, I was thinking of this reciprocity between the internal and the external.
Yeah.
What Sherry was just talking about a minute ago is basically you're describing Alfred North Whitehead and process theology and philosophy, and there's things about it that I don't really jive with, but the most important thing, the beautiful thing that I get from it is the idea that it's called the lure. God is luring us through the environment, just like you were saying, everything coming toward us, God is offering us in every moment the option of going forward, staying the same, or going back. And that's the lure. And it's like God knows every hair on our head. It's kind of amazing to think that God is providing this for us. But that's Whitehead's process philosophy, and it's called prehension. When we when we're actually synchronistically going through the bookstore and then it falls in front of us. That's fantastic stuff.
I know it is really. I think that's, if I remember correctly, when Jung was asked if he believed in God, he said, "I don't believe, I know." And the guy said, "Well, how do you know?" He said, "Because consciousness sees around corners." Right?
Yeah.
And so if you spend any time paying attention, and that's the key. You can wander through the world without paying any attention. And I think a lot of people do that for whatever reasons. I'm not blaming them.
Judging, yeah.
But if you take the time to pay attention, then it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And I think that's why in that prayer in the Orthodox Church, they say often, wisdom attend. If there's a comma there, it's not just wisdom attend. It's not asking wisdom to attend. It's saying wisdom. You want wisdom? Attend. And God is everywhere present, filling all things. Right. So, but you won't know that if you don't attend. And if you don't attend and see that, then you don't acquire wisdom.
Yeah.
How do you all attend? How do you all pay attention to this, to wisdom?
A lot of times for me, I'll ask God to help me be a better person, like when I'm praying. help me, find the right path forward. And I'm in a receptive mode and I don't really hear anything. But then I start doing something and I think back, wow, I'm doing something different here.
Right.
I'm doing this.
I'm there. I'm the thing. I'm in the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, One of the things, that for me, it's been step by step, Rigel, because I feel like a slow learner. But one of the first things that I decided was to take, like your cup says, a step back, right? And have a cup of tea. Like from God, a step back from God, actually. Well, from the God of the historical understanding, my history of God that I had in my life. And I remember writing a long time ago, I need to encounter him for the first time. I have to get away. I can't. And so I deliberately just put all the things, it wasn't easy, all the things that I had learned, all the propositional stuff, I just put it off to one side. And then I got taught, I would say, by the Holy Spirit how to attend. And I'll tell you something that, like, it's humbling because there was a specific moment where I don't know if I've talked to you about this, but people were asking me if I had blueberries on my property. And I said, there's no blueberries here. Like, I grew up in Ontario and there's blueberries everywhere in Ontario, right? But I'm like, there's no blueberries here. Oh yeah, there's blueberries, but not everywhere. And I'm like, well, I don't have any. And I was just, really sure of the fact that I had no blueberries. One day I'm walking and I look down and there's freaking blueberries. I'm like, what the? And then I look at the spot where I see them, and I remember that that's often the place where I've seen bears.
Wow.
And then I'm like, okay, now that makes sense. Because I always wondered, why do I see the bear in the same place? And then there was another spot on my driveway where I saw bears. So I ran down there and I looked, and there were blueberries everywhere. And I'm like, what an idiot. You're not paying, and that was my first lesson, was you're not paying attention. And the second lesson was I was walking on our driveway and I saw this little tree. It was just a sapling, but it was a tree I'd never seen before. It looked kind of exotic for our area. We don't have that many leafy trees, right? And I'm like, what is this? And I run home with the leaf and I look it up on the internet and I'm like, it's a dogwood. And I'm like, honey, and to my husband, we got dogwoods on our property. I found one on the driveway. Don't cut it down, because he's always trimming, along the driveway. And then I go out with my goat like a week later and I take them to this part of our property that I hadn't gone to very often. And it's full of dogwoods. It's like all along a creek. And it's thick. Like I'm walking in dogwoods that are like this far over my head. I'm like, it's like a jungle. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so, and that to me was the Spirit saying, this is how you have to attend. Even though I didn't really know how I was attending. My attention was being drawn, just like that slime mold in the attractor. And at the same time, I was being taught how to attend. And then I'm not perfect at it. There's a lot of things I don't see, but
Yeah.
I guess maybe you just have to be open to possibility. Does that kind of sum it up?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Richard, did you have anything else you
No,
want to
go
say about
ahead.
that? I mean, I'm thinking, like, I feel like I go through these phases of learning to attend again.
Mm-hmm.
There was like I think when I first, I mean, I've had spiritual moments through my life, but when there was this big turning point and I became a Christian and I asked God, you know, teach me basically, whatever you do, whatever you want me to do, I will do. Wherever you want me to go, I will go. It was one of these epic prayers that I did not, I wasn't prepared for the consequences because like shit hit the fan in ways that I could have never imagined. Like everything hit the fan. And it was a really rich time of spiritual growth.
Right.
And now I catch glimpses of God most often. I mean, in these prehension moments, I mean, I think just you two being here and having these aha moments with both of you is, I feel God in that
Yeah.
for sure. But, lately, probably in the last couple years, I've done some 12-step recovery work, and one of the practices that I do is making a list of people I am working on not resenting, and just reviewing that every once in a while and inviting, just being open to those people showing up in my life and for some sort of repair to happen. And shit happens. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So that's been a place of attending, which, I could always do more of. But I'm really inspired by attending through nature. And I'm heading out this week. My family, that's my son's spring break. So we're heading out of town. We're going to New Mexico, which is where we have some little postage stamp sized piece of property with a couple
Nice.
of sheds, and
Nice.
we're going to hang out there. But it feels much closer to nature than here in Austin. And I'm kind of wondering how I could make the most of that time out there, in attending. And so, yeah, I'm open to your thoughts. And
Well, I mean, for me, Rigel, the most beautiful moments that I have are unexpected. Like if I go out to just sit and meditate, or you know what it's like. Your brain gets overcrowded with stupid thoughts that don't belong there. But if you put yourself in the place and you become a part of it through hiking, um, canoeing, like you integrate yourself in a certain way into the environment. And I'm the kind of person, I've always walked looking down, and but I see lots of really cool things when I look down. Like, there's also looking up. Like I've tried doing that, but I usually walk into a tree. but, uh, but looking down, like you see little orchids, you see, unexpected mushrooms, you see little clumps of lichen all growing together, like as if some Japanese bonsai master planted them there, and like, if anybody saw me wandering through the woods, they'd think I was on mushrooms, because I'm like on the ground going, "Oh my God," you know. But then I've seen things like, we had this huge Douglas fir that had fallen and broken in half, and it had been laying there for many, many years, and it was a good, 3 feet in diameter. Just the log was big. And I remember walking one day and I saw a rock flipped over, and I noticed that the grass that it was laying on was not dry, was fresh. So I'm like, this just happened. And then I saw another rock, and then I saw some, dead logs scraped up, and And I'm like, I must be right behind a bear on the same trail. And then I get to that log and it's pushed down a hill. And I mean, it's been there, it would have been there for like 18 years, right? And all of a sudden it's pushed down a hill. And I'm like, well, he must actually be a big one. And I had my 3 dogs with, and then I got to this. We have a little bridge, and I got to the bridge, and all of a sudden the dogs' noses went down on the bridge, and they were like, they find which direction, right? And then off they go, and all of a sudden I hear scramble, 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 and this bear goes up a tree, and so like the whole thing. What I'm saying is, okay, so I'll tell you what the dogs did, which was, and they're not like, these are livestock guardian dogs, so this is all natural to them. So the 2 girls went and sat here, the tree's in the middle, and stared up at the tree. And my male came over and stood right in front of my legs. So they were triangulated, right? Because when they're triangulated, they can hit that animal at any direction. One goes this way, one goes this way, and one goes straight. So if that animal comes down, they've got it covered. So I'm like peeking to see the bear in the tree. And then I hear, scramble, scramble. I didn't have a good view of him. And thump, and I saw him hit the ground. And all the dogs went woof, woof, woof. And he went off in the direction that they pushed him. And then they all came back.
Wow.
They didn't chase the bear unendingly, right?
Yeah.
Like idiots. They just said, don't come here.
Wow.
And so like that whole walk was attending. I was attending.
Mm-hmm.
I was attending to my own safety. I was learning what it meant to track. What is an overturned stone, a freshly overturned stone? Who did that? Oh, a bear. It's looking for ants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, why is the bear looking for ants in the middle of the summer? Oh, because there's no berries. And the one thing just keeps leading to the next. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I would say attend without paying attention to that, to attending.
Mm-hmm.
Just go out there and encounter. Because that to me is what nature offers. At least it offers you an encounter with something. Mm-hmm. And it's your surprise that kind of sears that encounter into your memory because you weren't expecting it. So if you go out there and sit in the lotus position, and wait, you're probably going to be really disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. That's really great. And it's interesting that you started off by talking about basically physically changing where you're changing your perspective by just looking down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really fascinating. It makes me think of in iconography, Richard, I don't know if you know this, but in like Orthodox iconography, a lot of times you look at the icons and they're like, that something is really off. Like this does not look human. There's just what is it about this that is so off? And a lot of times it's because perspective is like intentionally messed with. Mm-hmm. So you'll have like things like reverse perspective. So instead of like the things that are closer to you, like the side of a box or something, like normally the closer it is, the bigger it is, the further away, there's that vanishing point that it's all kind of going towards. But in icons, they flip it. So like the closer it is to you, it gets smaller as it gets closer to you and bigger as it gets, closer to God or, but I think just that change in perspective is enough to kind of create a little bit of a dissonance, just enough dissonance to get out of the frame that I'm
Yeah.
usually in.
You know, Eugene Turkin talked about this recently on our Lives of the Saints, reverse perspective.
Okay.
And what it does is it puts them in the room. That's what it's actually doing. They're presencing
Oh,
themselves
wow.
to you. Yeah.
I've never heard that. Wow, that is so cool.
And Stephen Osborne, he told me that the first time he went into an Orthodox church, he went to inquire about incense. It was a perfectly utilitarian visit. And his mother had a degree in fine arts, I believe, and she was an artist. And so he walked in and he saw that he immediately noticed the reverse perspective and the sense of them being in the room. The presencing.
Wow.
I didn't know this
fascinating.
either until they talked about, like Eugene talked about it. So I'm like, what is reverse perspective? You know?
Yeah,
And he
gosh,
said,
this is
you know what? He said that that's how children draw. Think about that.
yeah. This makes me want to go on a walk and be
Present.
allow the world around me to be present with me, because usually whenever I go for a walk, I'm like there to get exercise, to get my steps in. I'm like listening to a podcast, I'm multitasking, and sometimes like I know that's a problem, but
Oh, I do
sometimes it's
too.
just so hard to like just look up or look down.
The other day, Rigel, I was actually ashamed of myself. I mean, I've been here by myself for 4 months. Okay, so I don't really have anyone to talk to, so I'm very busily listening to things on the YouTubes. And I went out onto my balcony to get something, and I had my earbuds in, and you know, somewhere out there, wafting through the noise of my earbuds, I heard a bird song, and I turned, and my tree was full of blackbirds, and I pulled my earbuds out, and they were just blasting. I'm like, oh my God. You know, I got these stupid things in my ears, and they're out there just singing gloriously, and it was snowing.
Oh my gosh.
Like in a snowstorm, they were la, you know.
What?
Yeah,
That sounds like something out of a dream.
I'll send you the video. I made a video.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I actually watched a woman. This was I don't know, maybe a year ago. Some woman. She did a YouTube short on, what did she call it now? It was she had a term for it, but it was just basically walking with no earbuds in your ears. I can't remember what it was called. And I'm like, and she was teaching people how to do it.
That's what we've come to.
I know, right?
It is. But there's so many good YouTubes to catch up on. How do you make time for it all? I'm like, I see Sherry. I'm like, oh, and there's Luke. Like, I haven't seen Luke in days. He's taking a break from YouTube. And I'm like, you know, so much to consume.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Sherry that paying attention when you're out there, it kind of reminds me of Thich Nhat Hanh. Don't miss your appointment with the now.
Yes. Beautiful.
And he'd go through his Deer Park center there, and he'd stop in the kitchen, and somebody was washing dishes, and he'd say, you know, how are you, and what are you doing? And instead of saying, well, I'm thinking about what you're teaching, they'd say, I'm washing dishes, and he'd say, yes. Yes, you are. And gratitude. For me, when I go out in nature, I'm like, I walk on the beach almost every day. I live right by the beach, and I just smell the air, watch the seagulls, and I just let it fill me. And I thank God for the beauty and the creativity. And also I noticed when I I was camping on the north side of Molokai when I lived in Hawaii. And I noticed on the third day that suddenly I was able to see more. I'd been there for 3 days, but all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's that big cliff over there. And
Yeah.
and
You
then
know,
real briefly, then when I
yeah.
moved, when I first got there to Maui, I was hanging around with some guys. I rented a room, and I went out with them for a walk in the jungle. And I noticed this one fellow was always looking up. The whole time he was looking up, and I said, why are you looking up? And he goes, well, there's mangoes up there. There's bananas. I'm in a whole new environment. You know, we don't have bananas in Oregon.
That's kind of like my blueberry story, Richard.
Yeah, blueberry theology.
Mango theology. Yeah, and I've done 2 walks because I walk almost every day, not in the winter, but in the summer. It's just hard to walk in deep snow, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll do looking up walks where I look up, you know. I have to say though, the looking down walks are way more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, the patterns on the beach in the sand. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and you know, like one time I went out, it was in the winter and I went with my snowmobiles last year. And I just like to whip out to the back. We have a lake on the back of our property, and I like to go back there and just see what's happening, you know. And I went with the snowmobile, and there's a place where you turn to go down, and right there, like I was following fresh deer track. There's lots of deer track back there, but I was following fresh deer track, and then laying on the ground were these 2 antlers with fresh blood on the tips, fresh blood in the snow, and the deer was gone. And I was like, oh, a gift.
Yeah.
I'll show them to you. I have them.
Wow.
Oh. A real gift.
Yeah. I did listen to actually I got through the whole interview with you and Mark. I think
Mark Parker,
yeah. So much there. Let's savor these
I've got
little gifts.
I've got a little bird nest in there.
Oh, of
yeah.
course.
But there they are.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And they're just laying there in the snow.
Yeah.
It's like every time I go out, I'm like, what will I see today? And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah.
These are awesome. Yeah, so worth it to go.
Yeah.
I don't know where you are in New Mexico, but I've heard the skies are amazing there.
Yeah. I'm in the Abiquiu area, which is an hour kind of northwest of Santa Fe. It's really interesting topography because it's like it feels like you're surrounded by mountains, but it's this like the mountains are created through erosion. So at the top is actually a plateau. So you're kind of like looking up at plateaus, and then there's these mountain ranges below the plateaus that have been created through erosion. So it's really kind of wild and stark beauty there. There's no, you have bushes, you have little juniper bushes, but that's about it as far as trees go.
Yeah.
Night sky. Yeah.
Yeah, stars. There's a lot of stars out there. Go ahead.
Well, there's a little story about when my sister and I, we were hitchhiking all over the country, and we just started our trip, and we got into the mountains, and it was dark. We got dropped off, and so we just kind of climbed over a railing and found a spot and laid out our sleeping bags and got in, laid down, and it turned out to be one of those yearly annual meteor shower nights. Of course, we didn't know. We didn't have Google. We didn't have cell phones. We had nothing. And we just lay down and we're like ready to fall asleep. And then all of a sudden it's just like, psh, psh, psh. Oh, It was the most incredible thing. We were just starstruck, you know?
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm going to be looking down in my
Cool.
little adventure to New Mexico. That's a great. I can't load myself up with too many like mental activities to remember, but that's like one I think I can employ while I'm out there.
Yeah.
I was telling Richard that I just listened to his interview with Mark from a
Oh,
couple
cool.
days ago. He did kind of a randos
Oh, I didn't see that.
conversation. It's really fascinating. Richard, like I had no idea that you're like a Marine special forces, you know? Like
Hard to believe.
wild. Like your story is so freaking wild.
Whoa,
And
I'm
then
gonna listen.
yeah, I got to this point. I'm like, oh, and he's lived on Maui. Okay, this is interesting. I was like I wonder if he spent time in Paella. And then next thing you know, you're like, I'm from Paella, or you lived there for a while.
Lived there for a couple of years. Yeah.
Couple of years, yeah.
What's paella?
It's a town on Maui. It's on the big. It's on the volcano side, right?
Yeah, it's about 5 miles north of the airport, going toward Hana.
Yeah.
Beautiful little hippie town.
Oh, it is. When I drove through that town, so my mother lived on Maui, in Kula, just up a little ways
yeah.
from Paella,
Yeah,
for I don't know 8 or 10 years. She was out there for a while, and we drove through Paella. We like went to the co-op there, and I was like, oh my God, this is Port Townsend, which is my hometown in Washington State, just like transported onto Maui.
yeah.
Like I felt like I even recognized people. I'm like, I know you. So
Got the same vibe. What year was that?
that would have been probably like 2008, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I was there from 90 to 2000.
Okay. Yeah. So this was,
That's 10 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's more than 2, Richard.
What's that?
You said a couple years.
Well, I lived in Paia a couple of years.
Oh, I see. Oh, you Maui for 10 years.
And when I first moved to Maui, I slept on the beach there near Paia for about 2 weeks. And then I saw on the health food store, the co-op, an advertisement for a roommate. And it was right across the street from the co-op. And I had gone to Hawaii after a 20-year marriage ended in divorce. And I had $800 when I got there. And just wanted to be there. And ran out of money. And we'd go to the health food store in the morning, and they'd put out their lettuce and everything that was starting to turn brown. And we were able to live on that produce from the health food store. And, I was a potter. So beautiful place to be a potter. You're just in your shorts all the time, and, pots dry real nice. And there's a community art center between on the way to Makawao. Above Paia, there's a community art center called the Hui no Iao, which means gathering of hands. And I was able to make my pottery there and then sell it in Lahaina under the banyan tree. And then, it's like work hard, then go surfing in the afternoon, go out and pick mangoes.
Yep. That's the life.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom was an artist, or she is an artist, and that she would sell her stuff at Lahaina under the banyan tree as well.
All right.
So
maybe I know her.
Erica Collins.
What kind of art?
She does kind of like a variety. She does woodcut prints, and pastel. I think pastel kind of landscapes and a little bit of watercolor.
Nice, yeah.
So, and that's what she does now in the Taos area.
Oh,
another like paella type town,
Yeah.
in New
Another
Mexico.
art conclave.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But, well,
Yeah. When I sold my pottery under the banyan tree, I made a lot of sales. I was doing raku pottery, which I had images of petroglyphs and whales and dolphins, and I could, sell a small piece for like $20 and wrap it up in bubble wrap, take it on the airplane. And I've done art fairs, made a living at pottery my whole life, on the mainland, and it was always so. I always felt so bad for two-dimensional artists, painters, because they had a hard time selling their art. But under the banyan tree, they would make prints of their originals and roll it up in a tube. And there was such a good market. People wanted to buy something that
yeah.
these two-dimensional artists were selling right and left, and I was so happy for them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's a thriving art market there.
And it was a heartbreaker to see it go up in flames.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But that print in the back there, that's the banyan tree
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
that I did at the
So it
cultural.
was an actual place under the
Yeah.
banyan tree.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's
Okay.
still alive. It sprouted back again.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
It's been nourished over the years with beautiful
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, I have to start packing for
you're going
my
to
New
do
Mexico
that.
trip. So I need to sign off here, but are there any, final thoughts, reflections? I've sure enjoyed this time with you two.
I
Should
just
I-
wondered.
go
I
ahead, go
wonder
ahead.
what the name of that essay was that you and Jordan were reading.
It's actually in the description of that video. I put a link.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you guys. This has been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you too, Richard.
It's been great, Richard. And next week I'm gonna try to do this, okay? But it will be
You'll be in New Mexico,
I'll be
right?
in New Mexico
All right.
at my mother's house. And so the internet there is sometimes okay, sometimes not. So I will do my best. But if if it doesn't happen, I'll maybe let you guys know. So, all right. Sherry, did you have any parting remarks?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
just happy to be here. Love this space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
And have some more fun little songwriting type activities we could do again.
I worked on that song.
Yeah, no, thank you for sending me that. I meant to actually sit down with it and kind of tinker with it, but maybe I'll have a chance to do that.
Picked up my guitar again,
Yeah.
my old guitar, and my fingers are really sore. So long. I gotta get some calluses happening here. And of course my chords sound like, because
That reminds me, Rigel.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment to the what do you call it? The Steve McIntosh group.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment and send it to your email?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, and then you can.
Yeah, I can forward it on.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it was so good to see you there. It's fun to just see how
yeah.
these
I'm sorry I
streams-
missed it, Rigel. If I don't put something in my Google Calendar,
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do it again, please.
Yeah,
include
2 weeks from.
Okay.
It's the second week of every month. And if you sign up to our email list,
Is it on a website?
yeah, here, I'm going to go to developmentalist.org and then I'm going to drop it here in the chat. Can you click on links or copy links out of the chat? I don't know if you can.
I can copy paste.
Oh, you can copy paste it out of there?
Copy.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you can sign up to the Zoom group there, and we usually have a
got
guest
it.
speaker and then some discussion afterwards. This last one is actually very discussion heavy, and because it was a continuation of a conversation that Steve started with his presentation from last month.
Okay.
So, but sometimes they're more presentation heavy, sometimes they're more discussion heavy, but I find them all very uplifting. So,
Yeah,
Good.
don't worry about my comment. Do it when you get back from your
yeah,
vacation.
that sounds good.
Yeah,
All right, you two, thank
Yeah.
you.
Have
Many
a great
blessings.
time.
yeah. Have
Enjoy
a
the
great time.
desert. I hope it rains while you're there.
Yeah, oh, it's lovely.
It's looking down after a rain would be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything's
Yeah.
sprouting.
Is it spring there now, Rigel?
it's springish. It would either rain or snow. It's kind of right on the edge there
Oh, so it's
because
up
it's going
high
to
there.
get, yeah, we're up at about 6,500 feet.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's gonna be a little chilly.
Yeah. I'm jealous.
All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
y'all.